Hi, I'm Holly McLean with TrainLi, and here with us today again is Joane, our CEO and founder of TrainLi. And today we wanted to spend some time talking about one of the most important things about a garden railroad or building any railroad is your track and roadbed. I would say that the more time and effort and energy and quality that you put into building your roadbed, the less headaches and maintenance that you'll have going on into the future. And there are a lot of variables, especially when you're gardening and you're outside with your railroad, that wind, temperature, animals, moisture, all that affects your track and roadbed. So the more that you can make that stable, the better off your train's going to run, and you'll have a lot more enjoyment time rather than frustration and so forth with maintenance and derailments and things like that. So today, matter of fact, you said we get a lot of questions sometimes on what type of track to use and how to build these, and of course we welcome those questions. We can certainly be a resource to you on building your railroad. But so I think today, Joanne, it'd be good if we talk about what are the different types of track, and what are the options within that track, how do you build it, and kind of how do you connect it all together?
Absolutely. Holly raises a very good point. The most important thing is, of course, starting with the basics and getting literally on the ground and starting from the ground up when you're going to build your layout. On the table is just basically a sample of some of the track and switches which we carry. And we cannot stress enough the importance of, when you are starting out, to make sure that it is properly drained. Drainage is one of the main issues that a lot of people have, in which they literally have spent hours putting down a layout that they're so proud of, and then they realize that there are so many issues with it, they need to pull it up and literally start from scratch. So anytime anyone contacts us, the first thing that all of us will say, well, what type of preparation did you do? Did you take into account drainage, which is paramount, especially if you live in areas where you have frost or there's a lot of rainfall? You really need to pay attention to that. One of the products which literally launched this company is our rail bender, and we've sold at least over 5,000 of these. And it is one of the key tools to have when you are going to do your layout, because what it does, it simplifies it for you. You're able to make any curves that you want, or if the next season comes around, spring is here, you want to begin to run your trains and cars, and you realize that it has changed a little bit. What we suggest is that you would take this and you literally put it on the track and you move it back and forth as though you're ironing, and it will literally make any corrections that's due to warping, or if you have decided that you want to alter your setup in any way. So this is a phenomenal tool. Everyone who has it, they're very pleased with the product. It's pretty heavy. It's almost like 6 pounds, and I can't speak enough about it, but Holly definitely will.
It's a great tool. Before we get to that, I would say, I guess there are 3 main types of track. You can have brass track, which is probably the most common, and then after that you can get stainless steel track, and then something that's very unique to what you carry is the nickel plated brass. And so I would suggest, I've always said that the brass track is very good for an indoor layout, for people that are really budget conscious, and it's also good for temporary setups, like around the holidays or things like that. The advantages are it's very easy to work with. You can either buy it in sections and snap it together, slide it together like a traditional train set around the tree, right. Or we sell this in 6-foot flex sections,
right,
in which you would use the rail bender to customize that. It's cost effective, it conducts electricity very well, The downside is that there is a lot of maintenance with brass track.
That's right. There's the cleaning involved.
It's the cleaning, yeah.
Yeah.
It oxidizes and gets to a point to where that if you're running either DC or DCC, you have to clean this track on a regular basis, and especially if it's outside.
Absolutely.
Yes. But if you're running battery power, then brass track is great because you don't have to worry about the oxidation on that.
That's true.
The next type of track that is really good for outside is the stainless steel track. The stainless steel track is really bulletproof. Wildlife can walk on it. You can stand on it. It is a bulletproof rail. The downside with it is that it's the most expensive track out there.
And there's no conductivity.
Yeah, it doesn't conduct as well as brass.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And it is really significantly harder to bend
Yes.
than the brass track.
Yes.
So what we started out was a lot of you know that we have a very large layout, several thousand feet of track, and we initially started using the stainless steel. Very happy with it, great product. But when I was introduced to TrainLi and the nickel-plated brass track, that's like the best of both worlds. Number one, it's significantly less than stainless steel.
True.
It's not that much more than our brass track.
Right.
And
By 20%.
it's about 20%.
Yeah.
But it is very, very easy to work with. Number one, that it's all brass. It has the same conductivity as brass track because it is brass track.
Right. It's basically a brass track, brass rails that are put in baths of nickel. And therefore, you literally have the best of both worlds. You have the conductivity if you need it, and also the maintenance on it is substantially lowered. So it's a product that we really take a lot of pride in and that we're happy to carry because we just find that it's a perfect blend and it looks really, really good.
It has a very prototypical look
Yes,
to it.
it does.
And this is one of the flex tracks, and you can see it is very
Flexible.
easy, very flexible. You still use the rail bend, of course, to do your right of way, but there's no way you could do this with
Right.
with a stainless steel track.
True, but one of the things that we like, and speaking of flex track, what we like about this product is the fact that you do not need to make any cuts.
Mhm.
You want to bend it left, right, make any type of radius that you want. It's very simple. There are no scissors or pliers necessary in which to cut any ends to make that happen. So if you change your mind, you have a layout, you want to go ahead and change it completely, it's not an issue. You just bend them straight. If you want straight track, just leave it as it is and you're all set.
Yeah, we on our layout we have, like I said, we had a lot of stainless steel track, and we were having electrical issues on the long runs, and we switched
That's typical.
a lot of sections of this to this nickel-plated brass, and it works great. The other thing is a lot of people say you want your track, especially outside, to float, and because of the expansion contraction of heat.
Absolutely.
What is really nice is all this stuff comes out of Germany. It's definitely a precision-made product, the rails and the ties, and they've done an excellent job of having this rail float on the sleepers or the ties, and you can see they just slide very easily.
Right.
So when you build your layout, this track, these rails expand and contract very easily inside of these ties, and so you get a great float, and that really helps eliminate the kinks and so forth.
That's true.
On our layout that we have outside, I'm only attaching this one screw for every 6 feet, for basically one screw every section, and it gives us just enough float, but it keeps it stable. And guys, we have thousands of feet of track. We only feed the track in one spot, and we're running DCC, and it feeds the entire track. We don't run every 50 feet these jumpers. We've eliminated all that. This stuff works great. When we're connecting these things, what we do is we also have a very special rail clamp that we use, and these are nickel plated brass as well, and so they conduct electricity exceptionally well. And what's I really like nice about this design versus the other designs out there, and matter of fact, a couple of those companies I think have been sold or going out of business or retired, but so they're even getting harder to find. But these,
ours you can find.
We
without
can
any
find
issues.
those. We got lots of those. Matter of fact, my son can attest to that because he meticulously counts out these every piece by hand and puts them in a little Ziploc bag. Thousands of them. Yes. But this is the clamps that we use now. The other clamps, and we'll do a little bit more in-depth video on this, but these just use a regular, what's so nice is they use this regular screwdriver and you access them from directly above.
Absolutely, which I think is another bonus to this type of clamp, because it's very easy to put in, very easy to put out, whereas the others in the past you had to either go on the side or underneath, which is pretty daunting.
It is.
It's not easy.
And what I've noticed on our layouts is that those loosen up each season. And so we have to go around and tighten them once or twice a year. And the other thing is you have to notice three things. One is you have to have that special Allen wrench.
Yes.
And it's never in the same spot where you left it last. So you have to hunt around your toolbox or your workshop to find it. And then you're always accessing it from the side.
Right.
And if your track is live, you're always shorting it out also. So everybody has dozens of little standard blade screwdrivers. You just pick that up. You can tighten it directly from the top.
And then you just screw it up.
And you don't. I've had these out now on our rails for a couple of years. We haven't tightened a single one,
which is really nice.
Oh, it cuts down on the maintenance time. The other thing on that, when you are trying to adjust them or retighten them, there's that magic torque that you have to find. If you tighten a little bit too much, those screws will bend, and if you don't tighten them enough, then they loosen up. So and there's a very small tolerance between those. So I found these, you go straight down, they hold them year after year. It is a fantastic product.
It really is.
And the other thing is, I noticed a person was comparing. These are a great price also. They're less expensive than the other clamps, and so it just there's lots of little things that you need to do in building your railroad that cut down the maintenance. It's not one magic thing. It's a lot of little things.
I agree. That's very true.
And when we wrap up here, I'm just amazed at about all the different variety of types of track sections that you have here. You have some very special type
this
turnouts.
is what we call our custom line. This is a teal switch, as you can see, and it's the closest that you can ever get to having something custom made for you. Because if you take a look at it, you'll see that the frog is literally in metal. So there's no plastic. It's just a perfect.
It's the real thing.
Yeah.
Just a smaller
It really
version.
is.
So, John, I understand that you have quite a variety of these crossovers with the different angles and also the different levels of on how they're made. And I was noticing that this one here is more of our economy line, where the frogs are plastic. This works great. It's the same coming out of Germany, the same German craftsmanship and so forth. But it's a little bit more economical.
Right. This is what I would call more of our right off the shelf line, where you could just purchase it. It works very well. It's not a problem at all. This is what we call the custom line, where, as you can see the difference.
You're right.
Thank you. As you can see the difference with the frogs, it's just the same manufacturer who makes this type of a switch. And you could see the craftsmanship that's involved in here. And it's really another line that we take pride in, because they do take their time to make them.
And it's nice the frogs being all metal on those smaller engines. If you don't have all the pickups, the smaller
Absolutely.
engines can go ahead and get stall or do a little jerk as they go through. Here you have solid metal all the way through, so
All the
you
way
get
through,
really
yes.
smooth
That's
running.
Yes, and this is just an example of our brass switch, which from the manufacturer you could still see that they have the metal frog incorporated in it also.
Yeah. Now I've had on social media and so forth, I've had a few people make comments that, oh, how well does the nickel plated hold up to if you're running trains all the time? And
You can
well,
be the
so
perfect person to
I
explain
can-
it.
we have several commercial clients,
Yes, we do.
museums and so forth, where they're running this
Yes, we
8
do.
hours a day, 365 days a year.
Also a huge arboretum
Yeah.
also carries
And
our
they don't,
nickel plated.
yeah, and we don't have the
No.
nickel plating wearing off. I've had our track out there for several years now, and we just are adding a new division to the railroad empire.
Yes.
And you really can't tell the difference between the track that's several years old and the stuff that's brand new, other than the ties have faded just a little bit.
But that's
but
normal.
that's normal. But the rails hold up
Yes,
great.
they do.
The one thing which is really nice is you don't have to scrub this stuff.
No.
I
We
literally
recommend you do not.
You do not. No, you don't. You don't want to do that.
Just a damp cloth.
Yeah.
And that's it.
So
And
I
you
have one
should
of
be
those.
fine.
I have one of those drywall sanders on the pole,
Oh, do
and I
you?
have a terry cloth on the base of it.
Yeah.
And we just dampen that, and we literally wipe this off,
And there you
and,
go.
we're done. Or we
Absolutely.
use one of those little electric sweepers, and it works great.
Yeah.
So
So, cautionary tale, do not put your track cleaner while it's operating with the wheels on your nickel-plated brass.
yeah,
That will
because
not
you don't
work.
need to.
No, you don't.
It just comes right out.
Absolutely not.
So, all right. Well, we hope you enjoyed this little segment about the track and the rails and so forth. And we encourage you, if you have any questions or any other subjects that you'd like us to talk about or expand upon, drop us a note on email or give us a call at TrainLi, and we'd be happy to discuss those. Thank you.